Well, good morning. We are the Kansas Teacher of the Year team, and we're delighted to be here today. It's always good when you're in a classroom to know who you're speaking to. Could you give us a little feel? How many of you are elementary majors? Very good. And secondary majors? Yes, bless you, bless you. There's a few. And it looks like we have instructors. Yes, very good. All right. Yay.
Teacher Appreciation Week, you know.
Yes, it is. Now, the other thing we need to know, how far along are you in your program? Are you getting ready to student teach next year? Are you finishing student teaching now? Where are we? This is interactive, so just call on out.
Going to student teach in the fall.
Getting ready to student teach in the fall.
Is anybody in that session now or just wrapping it up? Okay.
Okay, very good. That gives us some important information that we know. Well, we're excited to be here today. As we said, we're part of the Kansas Teacher of the Year team, and Kansas Teacher of the Year, if you say it quickly, is K-Toy. So what we want to do today is share our K-Toy story with you, how we embrace education, we embrace our students, and we embrace lifelong learning with our friends. All right. Well, we are going to pretend to be 8 different people. Because I know it's going to be very odd. The Kansas Teacher of the Year team actually is a team of 8. I would like to present Diane Smokorowski. She is this year's 2013 Kansas Teacher of the Year. And as Sue and I like to say, we're part of the losers. All right. So what we're going to do for the next hour is talk to you a little bit about techniques for helping you in the classroom. These are techniques that you can easily use as you head out next year for your student teaching, and then to infinity and beyond as you progress into your career as an educator. So what we're going to do is take you through the word embrace. All right? And so I'm going to need one of my gals to be my turner of the presentation.
Got it.
Because that's usually what I do. But now I'm going to be somebody else. And I'm not used to having to talk into a microphone, so this is very, very odd. But we'll see how this goes. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to Rami Allison. And Rami is the first member of our team. She is from Hayesville. She works in an elementary school setting, and she is an amazing physical education teacher. And the letter that she'd like to share with you today is the letter E. All right? And that letter is the letter E for engage. Now, engagement is very important. You cannot expect your students to learn a thing if they are not engaged in your lesson. Right? You have to have their focus, their attention, and their excitement in order for learning to occur. So, as Rami would tell you, it is crucial, obviously in a physical education classroom, they have kids up and moving. But unfortunately, what happens to some of us is that we think in our subject area it is so serious and important that we need to sit and just do serious work. And that's true, we need to learn serious things, but we need to have the kids engaged and moving. One of the things I like to say is that children should sit about as long as they are old. So if you're working, and many of you are working with elementary children, all right? If a child is 6, you should only have them focused on one activity for about 6 minutes before you have them doing something else. So if you're working, the two of you that are working with secondary students, if they're 15-year-olds, don't have them sitting focused on one activity for more than about 15 minutes before you have some way that you segue to a different activity, or you have them up and moving in some way. All right? So this morning, although we're in a tight, confined space and you're all in chairs, which is a little awkward, we are going to do some things where we want you to be engaged with us and we want you moving. So this first activity we're going to share with you is an engagement activity that would easily translate to any classroom setting. Now, Rami is an amazing physical education teacher. Do we have any people that are planning to be PE teachers? Excellent. Very, very good. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Rami would tell you a couple of things about PE. PE is the perfect venue for helping the other content areas, all right? Particularly elementary teachers, God bless you, elementary teachers need to remember that you are to work with your other content area teachers to extend learning, and you can still have these children learning all the physical things that they need to learn in your classroom as well. And this is an activity she might use to do that. So you have a puzzle piece, correct? All right, does everybody have one? Okay. What we're going to do in just a moment, when the music starts, we're going to ask that you find the other people that have the same puzzle piece that you do. You're going to need to build that puzzle, and then you're going to start doing the activities on the puzzle. Somebody needs to jump up and take some leadership, all right? You just start calling out activities. You start doing them as quickly as you can. Some of those activities will involve just the people in your group, and some of them may ask you to go outside of your group to complete the activities. Now, a couple of hints. The puzzles do not all create rectangular shapes, all right? But in order to do the puzzle, here's a little hint. All the words will face the same direction, and we will try to come around and give you assistance if you're feeling challenged with the puzzle pieces that you're given. All right? Now, the other thing is you're going to have to be a problem solver, because obviously there are not desks or large areas where building a puzzle would be easy. So I would suggest that you find some expansive floor, perhaps. All right? So be problem solvers, because educators have to do that, and be ready to work. Now, since this is a Toy Story theme, I'd like to kind of take on this persona for just a moment. In Toy Story, the army men always say, "Move, move, move," right? That's what you're going to be doing. So when the music starts, you're going to move, move, move. Got it? Got it. And when the music stops, that is your cue to stop as well. Rainey likes to use music in her classroom as a way to identify for the students when an activity is beginning and when it stops. She does not believe in using a whistle or necessarily raising her voice. So again, this is an important thing that you can translate into your own classroom. Use cues that the students can identify to help move from transition to transition. All right? So, are there any questions about this activity before we begin? Then let's move, 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 soldiers! Okay, we'll go over here. Is it color?
So we're going to ask you to go ahead and scoop your puzzle pieces together and have somebody volunteer to bring them up here to the front of the room. You got it, Jen? Good job, guys.
All right, here's up to claps, and as you walk back, say, "I am awesome."
I am awesome. We even have to shut the door. We're so awesome. Sorry.
So thank you very much. You guys did a very good job with that activity. Now, that got the blood moving. We've been riding in a car for quite a few hours, so I feel a little more energized. And your students will feel more energized too. What you have to remember is too much sitting here means nothing's happening here. Remember? Too much sitting here, nothing happening here. All right? Another thing that you'll need to remember about this kind of an activity is that it's great for creating groups. So what Rami would tell you is that if she has an activity that's going to follow the puzzle pieces activity and she needs 5 students in a group, well, then she creates puzzles that only have 5 pieces. This really eliminates time wasters in the classroom. The class has already been working together, do a little socializing, fun activity, and now she has her group built, and she's immediately on to the next thing. You will see in your own classroom, you have a very limited amount of time with students. You need to utilize every second, and finding creative ways to move from activity to activity is very key. Now, as you notice, this puzzle was a social puzzle, just fun little activities for easy interaction. This might be a great kind of activity as you're thinking about starting your class in the fall, getting the kids up and moving. The children, even though you're maybe new to them, they don't know each other necessarily. So you want quick activities for them to just do something together. Now, let's think about how else you could use this activity. These puzzle pieces don't have to be, social interaction or movement. They could be reviewing concepts. So try to be creative as you think about how might I take a simple little concept like this and expand it. Obviously, you can make application at the elementary level, middle, and high school using puzzle pieces, all right? Please, I know there's only 2 secondary people in the room, but my career was in secondary, and now I've moved to middle school. We need to remember, secondary students should not be sitting. They need to be up and moving. Even if you're needing to do serious work where they do need to be sitting, brain breaks about every 15 minutes is really important. So something like this would be great. So that is your E for the idea of engagement. Get the kids moving. And I'm going to turn it off to my friend Sue, who's going to be pretending that she is Scott.
My first name's Sybil, so it makes it really easy to be different personalities. Seriously. Picture me 6'2", 150 pounds. Skinny Scott, not skinny Minnie, skinny Scott. And he has trouble finding pants long enough and skinny enough around. I don't have that problem. So Scott has 3 little girls, and the second grader meets him after school and stays with him before they go home. And she was with him one day and said, "Dad, how do you spell awesome?" And he said, "I'm grading papers, leave me alone, just sound it out." And she wrote this on his board, "Math is awesome," for Mr. Keltner. She's trying to promote math with his students, obviously. I'm a math teacher, too. He teaches in Eudora, Kansas, which is about 8 miles east of Lawrence, so it kind of gives you an idea where he is. And he looked this up in the Urban Dictionary, and OSUM isn't just awesome. It's about 3 levels higher than awesome. It's awesome-er. And so he thinks that maybe she knows something that he doesn't know. His wife thinks he's raising a nerd. Actually, 3 of them. This is Scott as Sloper Mario. Sloper Mario. In math, we have positive slope, negative slope, 0 slope, and no slope. It's on his emblem, on his hat, and on his chest. His wife watches him very carefully now when he goes out of the house in the morning. Scott is very unique. He gets kids motivated like crazy. He never has a lesson that he doesn't have something totally relevant in the world, Common Core standards, to go with that lesson. As we travel with the K-Toy convoy, Scott is all the time texting us. I know you're not supposed to. He's all the time texting us, "Look at those 2 water, what are those called? Well, no, the water towers. There you go. On the left. One of them said hot, one of them said cold. Who knew? He's watching. He sees details that we miss. Now he's collecting pictures of silos with trees growing out at the top. The 1-tree silo. Yeah. The little spores blow in, and anyway, he tells you about that. Draws your clock, builds your clock. He has a student who has the same birthday as him, Chase Austin. And Chase was supposed to drive a car in the Indy 500 this year, but something happened with his sponsorship. He has been earning money driving cars since he was a freshman in high school, more than Scott ever thinks of making. And we were pulling for his man Chase, but he doesn't get to drive, so maybe next year. One of the really fun activities I think that Scott did, go ahead and go to the next one, is I guess it's not the next one, must be that one, yeah. He collected money for March of Dimes. They had an issue in their district, and the kids were collecting money, and he thought of an idea that they could build a Sierpinski triangle. I didn't know what one was. Does anybody know what a Sierpinski triangle is? Okay, a Sierpinski triangle is a fractal. It is a triangle beside a triangle with a triangle at the top, which leaves a triangle blank in the middle. Well,
You did pennies, because there'd be a gap between 3 pennies if you make them in a pyramid shape, correct?
so this was an activity in exponential growth, rather than saying, well, you got $100, you're going to put it in the bank at 2% interest for 3 years. How much would you have at the end of those 3 years? And the kids just want him to hand him the $100. Well, he can't do that. He's a teacher. Yeah. Okay, so he had the kids all geared up. They raised pennies like crazy. He had to go to the bank and ask for $6,000 in pennies. Do you know what they look?
Only
$600. I always get the decimal point in the wrong place. Nah, $600 in pennies. How many rolls of pennies is that? A lot. 1,200 rolls of pennies. How heavy is that? His van was full and hanging low in the back. The bank looked at him and thought he was crazy, and he said, well, I'm a math teacher and we're doing an activity. You can always pull the math teacher card. And they got on the phone. They went crazy. They got him his pennies. Well, they met at 4:15 in the morning. He had, 25 kids to begin with? To begin with.
Yeah, 4
And
a.m., volunteered their time.
4:15 in the morning, and some of them even brought him coffee. They made a Sierpinski triangle, which you can almost see there on the parking lot. 150 feet on a side. They set a world record, they think. They called Guinness, and they said, we don't have a category for that. But if you want to pay for our guy to come over, we'll make a category. Well, that would have pretty well shot their $600. So they gave it to the March of Dimes, and they are no longer eligible for Guinness Book of World Records unless they're ready to pay for it. So he is the senior sponsor, and when he took the seniors on senior trip, one of them knocked over that penny pot at the cash register, and they all scrambled to pick him up, but instead of putting him back in the cup, they made Sierpinski triangles on the counter. So it was really cool. He does so much stuff you can't believe. I don't think he ever sleeps. That's why he's so skinny. He found oatmeal cream pies at the store. There were 2 cookies and 1 creamy filling for 50 cents on the bottom, and 3 cookies with 2 creamy fillings on the top, and he does that too when he's not holding a microphone. This is much more interesting for a system of equations than the train left Boston at 30 miles an hour and somewhere else at 45 miles. When will they meet? How much long will blah, blah, blah. And so he posed this question to his classes. How much does the cookie cost and how much does the creamy filling cost? Well, here's our system of equations. 2 cookies plus 1 creamy filling equals 50. 3 cookies plus 2 creamy filling equals 75. And when they worked it out, of course, first they were guessing, I bet it's 37 cents for each cookie. Well, he had kids responding that usually just sit in the back and twiddle their thumbs or whatever they do. And the whole class got together. They found out that, rather a poor marketing scheme, the creamy filling is free. Who gives stuff away free? And the cookies are worth $0.25 each. So he had kids going home that night, I wonder how much 5 cookies and 4 creamy fillings would cost. And he imagines 15 cookies, and how would you eat that? I mean, and he even tweeted it, and little Debbie retweeted him. There she is.
About the math problem. You had a blog post, and then
See, I don't know this.
hashtag Little Debbie, they picked it up and then set it out. Look, you can use Little Debbie snack cakes for math.
And he's also on Pinterest. He's very resourceful in everything he does. He, who did this? Some kind of drink, Monster drink?
Red Bull.
Red Bull, yeah, there you go. Red Bull had some guy go up in, I don't know why, go up in a hot air balloon and jump out 24 miles. I think he had something missing between the ears, but that wasn't what Scott was worried about. he found the information, they graphed it, they figured out how fast the kid was going, how much oxygen he was using, and he posts all this stuff on his Good for Nothing, which we'll see in a minute, Good for Nothing blog. He has several blogs. As you see, we've seen several links here. Any of those you can get to, and you can see those. You don't need to write them down. You can see those on our 2013 K-Toy website. The next one shows something that I would like to shop for. Where's that one? Is it still there?
It's a PDF version.
Oh, shoot. He has one that says 70% off, and then there's another one that says plus 30% off. What's that mean? It should be free, right? Well, he teaches the kids that no, that's not free. You take 70% off, and then you take 30% off of that. But he had signs that actually showed it. He has kids ask questions that some people may dismiss as dumb questions, but he says there are very few dumb questions. Occasionally he gets one. These are some of the questions he has fielded, and he will always go and look those up for the kids and figure out what they're for. How fast, how high, how long did that Red Bull straddle sky? Felix Baumgartner, there's his name. He instigated a building of a wind turbine, a windmill, and that's what I call it, next to his football field, and they had to figure out what's the final descent into an airport look like so that airplanes wouldn't hit his wind turbine. And he's on just about every committee I've heard him name. He's very motivational. He's exciting to be around. He's only taught for 10 years, so we could all be his mother or his grandma. And we take really good care of him. And he says he's the man of our team, which he is. So that's him. We'll turn it over to alias of Miss Judy Domke.
Yes, Judy Domke is a special ed teacher in an elementary building in the Blue Valley School District up in Overland Park. And we were in her building last Thursday to tour. And let me just tell you what, my friends, this wonderful little lady is the rock star of her building. Every teacher, every student, Miss Domke, you're here. I'm so excited to see you. Oh, my friends, and she hugs them all. She's the grandma to everybody in that building. I think is a good way to say that. But her focus today is building relationships. You can't be a great teacher if you don't know your kids. That's the point. I have a student this year. His name is Will. And Will is probably one of those kids who sits in the back of the room pretty quiet. He observes things. You know, he notices things, but he doesn't talk much. And I just play with his emotions all day. I just antagonize that poor boy. I'm like, hey, Will, how's it going? Things good for you, Will? And I get this. The head nod, you know, it's not even a full howdy do. That's what I get. And so the next day, I'm even more obnoxious. Well, bud, isn't today the best day ever? And he's like, it's good. Well, I was on this personal mission. How am I going to get that kid to open up in class? I had to get to know him because obviously I knew how to annoy him. I got to that level, but how do I get Will to crack? And I had tried day after day after day trying to get that boy to be excited about something. And he's really smart. He's just very quiet, very shy. Well, my students had the opportunity to go to see the governor for Digital Learning Day because we do a lot of nerdy things in my classroom. And I had to handpick the children who were going to come do the presentations. And they were invited to actually go over to KSDE, the Kansas Department of Ed, and do a presentation about our projects. Guess who Miss Smoke made sure was the first in line on that trip? And I did it on purpose. And I said, well, babe, yeah, so you want to go to meet the governor? That could be cool. I said, you got to dress up. Then I had a different reaction. What? I said, yeah, baby, you got to put on a tie. I think my dad might have a tie. And he wears this cardigan sweater. Obviously, that was Dad's too. And because he's only 14, right? We go up to the governor's office, and I handpicked other ones who needed to be working on skills. I picked a total squirrel because I knew that if Will and a couple of the other ones would have that awkward moment and would freak out, the squirrel would just stand up in the middle of the line and make it funny. okay? I picked one who thinks she's going to be president someday. And when you see students do group projects, you've ever heard of the hogs and the logs? Okay, the hogs are like, all right, people, I'm in charge. You will do this, and you will follow me, and all will be well, okay? And then you have the logs are like, awesome, let it ride. Well, she is the hog, okay? And Will is not the log, but he's more of like, just tell me what you want me to do. Okay, so I picked her because she needed to learn to share the spotlight just a little bit, okay? I picked a lazy one who comes to class. His dad is the chief of police. And I had him come along because that one needed to realize that hard work pays off. You see, I handpicked the children who would be talking. Well, here comes Will. And they have us centered around the governor, and they're signing things, and he gives them his pens, and the kids are all excited, like writing pens. And you can take the picture of Will. He is grinning from ear to ear to ear. There he is. Oh, I forgot we had that photo in here. Yep, those are my babies. And can you tell which one's the squirrel? He comes into class and he brings in water bottles. I am Aquaman and I will cover all of your needs. I mean, he's just really kind of an out there kid, But look at Will. He's beaming. And when we went to the KSDA department right after this, which is down the road, Will led the presentation about what we do in class. And he answered questions. He was very methodical. He could give you any answer you wanted to know. But I had to push him and give him an opportunity to open up. It's how do you get to know the kids? And when you build those relationships with them and you come in and you give them that high five every single day, they're like, you want me to be here? You value who I am? I'll work for you. That's how that happens. And you can make great things happen with kids. And you know what? When they get to know you even better, you've got lifelong friends. Do I recommend kids being Facebook friends with their students? No. When they're out of school, you keep those relationships going, and you can see that they turn into wonderful people. I have students who are lawyers. I have PAs. I have all of these kids who've gone and done wonderful things. And one, name is Weston Mills. He's now 24. He wrote on Facebook a quote of somebody that says, if you do something extraordinary every day. I popped in right beneath him and I said, as your former teacher, you can do an extraordinary today because I've seen what you can do. And he wrote me back, you guys probably know some smoke. I needed to hear that. And he's 24, So it's about building those relationships and getting to know your babies, and great things will happen. Okay?
I'm shrinking now. I'm short. As you can see, I live down in the far right-hand corner of Kansas, Baxter Springs, 1 mile from Oklahoma, 4 miles from Missouri. I taught for 25 years in Joplin, Missouri, that blew away recently. I retired there, and I teach 4 minutes from my house. Awesome. I love getting up in the morning and going to... No, I don't. I don't love getting up in the morning. After I get up in the morning, I love going to school. I have the most wonderful job in the world and the most wonderful students. My letter today, I think, is R. Yes. My letter today is R for reflection. In mathematics, we have what we call transformations. We have translations, rotations, and reflections, 3 kinds. Translations, pick a figure up and move it exactly as it is to another area. I see somebody nodding. I've got a math nerd. In education, we have the unique opportunity that we can steal ideas from other people, and it's okay. They're even sometimes flattered because we stole their ideas, as long as we're using them in our classroom. We can't go out and make a movie out of them or something. But as long as we're using them in our classroom, we can steal the ideas that we see. For instance, you might want to steal the idea of the puzzles that Ramey would have presented this morning, and pseudo-Ramey did. I like this activity because it involves everyone. I like it because it gets them moving. I like it because it puts them in groups that they can't say, oh, I don't want to be in a group with that one. We kind of encounter that sometimes with freshmen. There's a freshman living in Smoke's house. I just want you to know. Yeah. So when we have a translation, we just use that activity exactly as it was used before. So we could just take these puzzle pieces home, but we probably can't do that. Ramey would not like that. The next transformation is rotation. That's where you pick up a figure and you move it so that you can see it from a different angle. For instance, you might want to take this activity and put math problems on each puzzle piece. You might want to modify it from elementary to secondary. You might want to change it, not use music and use something else. You might want to have it give directions to go to a wall and answer some question that's on the wall. Ramey does these kind of things too, but that would be a rotation of the activity. And the third one is the one that my letter comes from, reflection. And you get to do that every morning when you get up and you look in the mirror. That is a reflection. Your right hand is your left hand is your right hand, your right ear is your left, etc. And so we reflect, we pick a figure up and we turn it around. My favorite reflection activity example is I love mashed potatoes. Anybody love mashed potatoes? I didn't get mashed potatoes growing up unless I went to Grandma's house, and Grandma was a great mashed potato maker, but my mom was no cook, and she'll tell you that to this day. She's 91. She peeled potatoes, cut them up, stuck them in a pan, put water on them, stuck them on the stove, turned the fire on, went off in the other room. Well, when you do that, my grandma said you can't fry chicken in the living room. Something goes wrong. So when Mother would smell the potatoes burning, she would go back in the kitchen, pick up the pan, get out a bowl, dump the potatoes in the bowl, put it on the table. That was potatoes for me growing up. I weighed 95 pounds. My mom was not a cook. But as I grew up and got married to my wonderful husband who's standing in the back, and did things my way, I rotated that activity, and I started out the way she started out with cutting them up, peeling them, putting them in the pan, putting water on them, turn on the fire. But I remembered Grandma's warning, and usually I stay at or near the kitchen. I try to catch them before they burn, and so I just pour off the water and stick them in the mixer, and add butter and sour cream and cheese, salt. Is everybody hungry now? And I have mashed potatoes. In fact, I make mashed potatoes so often that my children at one time said, how come you always mash the potatoes? I mean, even off of a roast that you cook in the oven with the potatoes, I mash those. I mash it all. I rotated that activity like crazy. Well, there are many other ways you can think about reflection. In Spanish, reflection is reflexión. In Dutch, reflection is weerglans. Everybody say weerglans. Weerglans. Now you can go home and tell people you spoke Dutch today. As you teach for a few years, you can reflect back on things that you've done. As you do activities, you can reflect back on activities that you've used with the children. Sometimes when you reflect back, you think, that was awesome. Everybody loved it. Everybody participated. Everybody got the idea. When they get the idea, we call that what, Smoke? Teacher crack. There we go. When they go, oh, then we know. That's teacher crack, and you want them to do it again, right?
Always.
So when you do something that works so well, you want to do it again. Then there are those days when you write a problem on the board and you think it's going to come out with a whole number answer, and it comes out some nasty decimal that you really didn't anticipate, and you just wipe it off the board and say, sorry, I made that one up. Let's pick one out of the workbook. I don't know. Sometimes your activities just don't work, and so you need to reflect back and say, well, I'm not going to do that again, and I have learned my lesson, especially in calculus, because they just don't come out right when I make them up. I can pretty well do adding and subtracting. Elementary, you probably won't have to worry about the calculus. It'll be all right, unless you have really bright students. Well, another way to reflect is to look back and see what you've done throughout the years. And as I said, I taught in Joplin for a long, long time, but I always wanted to teach in a small high school in Kansas. And I am blessed that I got that job. I've been there 13 years. And I teach everything from consumer math to algebra to pre-calculus to calculus. There are only 3 math teachers in my building. We are only graduating 57 students this year. It's a wonderful place to be, and I'm so glad that I chose teaching, and I'm so glad that I teach where I teach. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm Diane Smokorowski, but everybody just calls me Mrs. Smoke because that's just so much easier to say, okay? Actually, I tell people my husband is Smoke. I get to be Mrs. Smoke. That's how that happens. And Little Smoke is our freshman. And he's counting down the days into school. I think many of you are at that point of the semester, just maybe. Do we as teachers know how many? One of us is out of school. Miss Sarah, they're doing a bond issue, and so they ended school May 2nd. See, if that were me, I'd be at Disney World on May 3rd. Okay. Because because that's the off season and it's cheaper. But I teach in Andover, just in the Wichita area. I teach 8th graders. I don't even know what grade I teach. 8th grade language arts with, and also an MTSS group of students who need reading fluency support. So I do a little bit of that. Also have the hat of being the full-time now, as of, I guess it's been a couple weeks now, I'll be the full-time technology integration coach for the district. A job I used to do, and I get to go back to it. And my word for you is to access your network. With the Common Core, there are 4 or 5 basic rules that you have to remember. There's not a lot of standards to them. If you've taken a look at them, there's not a lot. But there's about 5 boiled down rules to it. Number 1, what are kids curious about? Any science loving folk in here? You like critters and that sort of thing? Awesome. See, I believe in equity in all things, except that my husband has to kill all the bugs. But frogs, that sort of thing. How many of you like physical science, where you build blocks and that sort of thing? This is the science guy. We're just going to call you Bill Nye. Okay, let's make that happen. Okay, you know that song. Okay. With our students, we're going to pull from those science classrooms on the inquiry learning, and we're going to be using it in every class. In language arts, we take literature and build our research around that. And I'm going to show you an example here in just a moment. And that's one rule, curiosity. The second one, it has to be relevant. Everything we cover has to have a real-world connection to it. So with that question, when am I ever going to use this? We now have to show them. And we actually practice those experiences as part of the curriculum. Did you ever ask that question in math class? How many times do you get that question every year, Mrs. Commons?
I have a poster.
You have a poster? I still don't think I've ever really needed to know the quadratic equation. I'm sorry. But I'm sure I probably used it somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
On the field when you want to make sure that your corners are corners.
Okay. So now I've got it.
Right, honey?
Would I use that if I were tiling my floor?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, so maybe I do use it.
Probably not.
Probably not. Maybe if I don't
I
know.
would.
She would. But you get the point. You have to show the real world connections. The third rule is they have to write collaboratively. You have to learn how to work together. And I've seen it, this is the first year I've really seen it, that we are now having to teach children the art of conversation. And I don't say that I blame all of that on technology. I know it's a part of it, but I'm not going to blame all of it on there because it's all just about distractions. Children are involved in 12 activities a day, easily, and on homework and all this. They don't get a chance to hang out and get to talk to one another, and they certainly don't know how to work together to build something. And you've probably been looking at things like cooperative learning strategies with Kagan. That's the high five, we're awesome, we can do great things. That's not the same as collaboration. We work together to produce something new. So that is a piece of the Common Core. Another one to that is reflection, as she spoke of. You now have to give students an opportunity to go back and look at their work and determine what worked and what didn't. So those are kind of the rules that go along with Common Core. Can you do all that? See, it's not too terrible. Okay. So let me show you how this works. And I'm going to jump over this one. And we're going to talk, well, you said most of you are elementary, right? Okay. We're going to do a different one altogether. Okay. You've heard of Flat Stanley, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever heard of the Travel Buddy project? It's different. Okay. Travel Buddy is where you have a stuffed animal that actually goes and stays at a classroom as a foreign exchange student from your community to there. And it actually collects data while he is visiting. Okay. Now, Buddy has some rules when he comes. He will come with his own backpack when you ship him out to the classroom. He comes with a journal and information about your community. So let's say that I was shipping, where's your hometown, honey?
Stratford, Colorado.
Okay, that's very different than Andover, Kansas. Okay, so I might send with Buddy the K is for Kansas book and tell you some things about where we live. We have a lot of people in the aerospace industry, etc. Okay, I might even send you some Kansas candies, things that are just sold here. We send it off to your kiddos. Now, Monday night, he will go home with the first student. In the journal, the student will write what happened at the house that night, what they have for dinner. And I'll tell you, every home, and I've put them on all 7 continents, aside from Antarctica, there's a trampoline in somebody's backyard. Okay? They take pictures of the buddy, and I see buddies flying, all the way up here over the trampoline. The kids are like, hey, it goes along with it. Okay? The student writes 2 or 3 sentences. What happened? Okay? This was actually designed by the Australians who understand collaborative projects before anybody else did. And it was meant to teach literacy. 4 and 5-year-olds learn to write, journaling. Okay, so he goes to your house on Monday. You take pictures and you all have fun with Buddy. Then you bring him back to school and he goes to your house on Tuesday. Her journal that she's written in comes to you and you will add to it. See what I mean? Same experiences, what'd you do? Now, let's say you do something fun and maybe your mom or dad went to a festival in town that weekend. Maybe you had him on a Friday night. Buddy's going to go with you. He's going to take pictures with you at all different kinds of places, like the flat sailing. That's the similarity piece. You're going to bring home artifacts. Maybe it was a Renaissance fair and you bring back a jester's hat or something that Buddy got to wear. Then he comes back to school and he goes to the next house and so on. And he sees every child at home. Now, if you get down to this line of the thing, how many different entries is she going to be able to read by the time it gets to her? And now we're writing for authentic audiences. That is the last rule for presentations of some sort for the Common Core. Write for the audience you need to write to or perform in front of, okay? Now, while he's there, teacher also does some writing, okay? Once a week, because Buddy comes to school and he's a part of your classroom. So Buddy's going to go to PE, Buddy's going to go to recess, he's going to do all of those things. Now, how many of you want to teach the wee ones, like K1, 2, pre-K 1, 2? Okay. Let me tell you what happens to pre-K babies and to Buddy. They fall in love with him. Literally fall in love with him. And you'll see him pictures in music class and they're hugging on to Buddy. Or they'll take him home and they'll sleep with Buddy, and you get this little sweet little photo of them all having a little nap together. But teacher writes every week information about what happened in class. So if you go on field trips and so forth. But what's interesting about Buddy when he comes to stay is that magic happens. He is to collect data and find out what about your community that I don't know. What can we learn from one another? What's one of the big industries where you live? Farming, okay. Well, a lot of my kids are city kids and aren't involved in farming, so that would be a real interesting conversation to have, okay? Where some of their communities have more of the farming situations, all right? But the big question is how, I should tell you one more thing. When Buddy comes back home, he brings all of the artifacts that he's been gathering at your homes to give to the students at the original classroom. And we've had buddies, like I said, on every continent. And they'll send chocolate from all different parts of the world, and it tastes great no matter where it comes from. Except for when it came from Poland. It was white chocolate. Nestle still makes chocolate in Poland. I thought that was interesting. But it had dried fruit and things in it. And first graders were involved in the project that year, and I said, we break the chocolate out and everybody gets to try it and so forth. And one says, I can't eat that smell because it has raisins in it. I said, you don't want to try it? No, I'll smell it. I was like, okay. So you get to tell them, this is what Europe smells like. This is what Antarctica feels like. So it's in dirt, that sort of thing. You get to experience the world through Buddy. It's very cool. Okay. But the question is, how do you find these places to send the Buddy? How many of you are already starting to think about that? Like, well, how would you find a classroom in that area? You use your digital network. How many of you are on Facebook? Whether you log in or not, you have an account. Okay. Any of you on Twitter? Pinterest? You are now linked to the world. You put it out on your network. My students, second graders, are working on XYZ. We're looking for classrooms who would collect data for us, and we'll be sending a Buddy to you. Would you be willing to partner with us? If you are not a second grade teacher, but you know one, would you forward this on to them and find us friends? Within 24 hours, you'll have everybody you would ever want. Because it is part of the 6 degrees of separation. If we go back There it is. Also known as the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you ever played the game. You can connect your classroom to anybody within 6 humans or less. And I believe it can be done in about 4. For example, if I wanted my students to talk to somebody in Brazil, who knows somebody in Brazil in this room? Bam, several. 1 degree of separation. Anybody, or that'd probably be 2 because you know somebody's there. Have many of you been to Brazil? So it'd have to be at 2 degrees, okay? Does anybody know someone in the government, like a government official? See how it all works down the line? Maybe if your students are doing 3rd grade, it's a whole thing on the different government, legislative branch, and so forth. You see what I mean? You connect them up, and great things can happen. So access your network and connect your kids to the world. Okay.
Well, I think you have all been sitting much too long, so we'll stand up now, shall we? Let's all stand up. Good, good, good. Oh, thank you. Now, so sometimes you will find that your students are getting tired. So as I said earlier, we got to move a little bit. And so let's try this. Because as a teacher, you do not want to spend your time yelling at them. You want to get their attention in exciting ways. So let's try this. Try that with me, please. Oh, very good. Now, let's change it up a little bit. Try it. Oh, that is very good. Now, you see, I have your attention now, but you will know that sometimes in your classroom, you are asking your students to do something that will make them feel uncomfortable. No? Like, no. No, you never make them do anything that makes them feel uncomfortable? No, of course you will, because like the little ones you will be saying we're reading, and they've never done that before, so it will be uncomfortable. So I want you to feel uncomfortable for just a moment. So you're very good at clapping, but now we got to get the rest of the body in it. So here we go. We're bouncing our knees. Everybody, we're bouncing our knees. Now we're going to try this again. Here we go. We're bouncing our knees, and now we're going to clap. Why are you not moving? Keep moving. All right, very good. All right, are you feeling silly now? Some of you are not moving. What is wrong? There we go. We got to keep moving. All right. So you get the idea. All right. So the thing is, we sometimes ask children to do something that makes them feel uncomfortable, and we need to remember that. Okay. Now, children will sometimes be very loud, and you need to get their attention. So we do not raise our voices and yell at them. No, we do not. We use attention getters. Let's try this one. Single file with a smile. All right, now you must teach them, so you say to them, I'm going to say single file, and you're going to say with a smile. And be sure to smile now, everyone, okay? Because your faces need a break. You've been very serious. So I need you to smile. Here we go. Single file with a smile. Say it with me now. Single file with a smile. Very good. Okay. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
I'm loving it.
Not bad, not bad. Okay. How about spaghetti and
Meatballs.
peanut butter and
Jelly.
Ah, so good. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Ah, that is very good. You sit down now. Good, good, good. All right, so as you know, see, normally Miss Laura Moyers gets up and she does this whole act, and no one has heard her voice yet, so they hear her talking like this, and they're like, wow, that's
Great tournament.
That lady has an amazing accent. I wonder where she is from. And then she starts talking like herself, and she's from Texas. And they just love it, you know. But I guess you heard me earlier, so you knew I didn't talk like that, and so, you know, kind of blew it. But Laura says you use language as a way to get kids' attention. She's a music teacher. She teaches elementary music, and she'll just break into an interesting accent, all right? She uses these attention getters as a way to get their attention so she doesn't have to raise her voice. And let me share with you one other thing. Her word is C for
Creativity.
create, all right? Using creativity. Now, Laura happens to be quite theatrical, I tell you. And I'm going to attempt, yes, we all do all right, don't we? I'm going to attempt to now sort of try to show you what she would do next in her presentation. I'm really sorry she's not here, because she would pull out the coolest little puppet, and she's a ventriloquist. All right. Now, Diane and I can't do ventriloquism, so we're going to try the next best thing. So give me just a moment.
Do the Jeopardy song with me. Do 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 do. All right.
All right. Hello.
Hiya, Granny.
Hello.
Do you know who we have here in the room today, Granny?
Well, I vaguely see shapes out there.
These people want to be teachers.
What?
They want to be teachers.
Oh, I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher? How long have
Yes.
you been teaching, Granny?
Well, let me see. I think I've been teaching about 72 years.
Oh. Do you use a lot of technology in your classroom, Granny?
Technology?
Yeah, you know.
No, I don't use technology. Technology is evil. It's of the devil. Oh, no, I don't use technology. No, of course not.
But Granny, don't you use like an iPhone with your students?
How would I know about your phone, dear?
Not my phone, an iPhone. Don't you use those?
An iPhone?
Yes.
Now, I might have this wrong, but if you put that phone up to your eye, you're not going to hear very much.
It's actually cooler than you think. What about a Bluetooth? Do you use one of those?
That is absolutely disgusting. You should see a dentist for that condition.
Well, Granny, these people have a chance to be great teachers and work with students.
Oh.
They're going to be using some of the latest tools like technology.
Sit up a little, honey, now. Come on. There we go. That's good. Thank you.
But Granny, they need to know how to build a lesson plan and things like that. How do you build your lesson plan?
Oh, honey, I've been teaching for 72 years. I go over to the file cabinet. I am very organized. That is one of the things you as a teacher need to remember, to be very organized. And I go to the file cabinet and I pull it out.
Do you have lots of those in your room?
I do.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
lots of file cabinets and folders and binders. Lots of binders from all the many activities I've got.
I bet you still have episodes of Jack and Jill.
I think I do.
That's an
somewhere.
old magazine, boys and girls. Okay.
Anyway, so I get into my file cabinet, and today, if I am not mistaken, is May 8th.
It is.
And I go to my file for the week of May 8th, and I pull it up. And I always find a lovely worksheet that I can have the children do.
Emotions.
That is very rude. Now sit up, honey. Come on. Face forward here.
Well, Granny, we've got to go because we have other people to meet, virtually and here.
Oh, well, all right, I guess, if you must.
But I heard you wanted to sing a song.
Oh, my golly, yes. Yes.
Do you have a song?
I always have a song.
A song in your heart.
Oh,
perhaps.
of course I do.
Well, what song would you like to share with your children today?
Actually, I am very hip. I'm very hip. And,
It's pushed out to a side.
Yes. Well, actually, I had this one redone recently. This one is still the original. And it's hip. All right. I heard a song as I was coming from school just the other day. Would you like to hear it? Yeah. Oh, what a glove. Wait. Did I hear negativity in the back room?
We might have a corner for that.
Teachers have very good hearing. You know, it only appears that I'm senile. I can hear. All right, so I was coming home from school just the other day, and I heard this amazing song, really cool song on the radio. Could I sing it for you?
Absolutely.
All right, I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, sing with me if you know it, honeys, okay? I whip my hair back and forth. Oh, I whipped my hair right off. So, it's really a lot cuter with the dummy, you know, the little with the little puppet. But anyway, Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Laura has been teaching for 25 years, and one of the things she would say to you is, please start keeping a journal, all right? Now, the journal that Laura kept for 25 years has recently turned into a book, and we'd like to leave a copy of this book for you here at the university. In about a month or so, this book will be available for downloads through Amazon, and we on our website have contact information for Laura. If you're interested and would like to get a download of this particular book, it's called Time Out for Teachers, and this is really just her heart. It's full of stories of heartache and joy, and it has all the attention getters that she likes to use. She is a very creative woman, and she would say to you, this is a key component. You want to build on your students' curiosities and use their creativity. You don't have to be the one who is a ventriloquist, right? You don't have to be the one who talks in crazy voices, right? This is not necessary. While it is helpful if there's a bit of a drama king or queen, in your soul as a teacher, remember, this is not a stage, all right? We're trying to get the little people and sometimes the big people in our classrooms to be the ones doing the stuff, all right? This is not us putting on a performance. So it's not necessary that you yourself be awfully, dramatic or creative, but you do need to find interesting ways for your children to use their creativity. And this book would be full of some great ideas about how to do that. So that was Laura Moyers, and our letter was C, creativity.
Oh, and the book's free for right now.
Yeah, the book is free.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. This is Colleen Mitchell, and she is from Emporia. She is an amazing gal, actually. She works in a school where they have a very strong ESL population, or ELL, okay? What's really fascinating about this building is that it's called a dual language program. If you are a first grader up through fifth grade, you have 2 teachers, not just one. One does instruction in Spanish, the other one does it in English. So children are immersed in both languages, no matter what is your original language. Isn't that amazing? Okay? And she works with literacy strategies and so forth. And her letter is educate. That's the business we got into, my friends. You really have chosen the best we're biased, but you really have chosen the best career ever to be a part of. And it starts with powerful learning environments. This photo is silly students sleeping with snakes, teaching things like the sounds for speech and for alliteration and that sort of thing. And the classroom is completely different because our children now work together and collaborate with one another, not just with in-house, but between classrooms as well. Am I right to say all that so far? Okay. Whew. It's pressure trying to remember your other people's lines. Okay. And it is about those critical connections. We talked about those real-world pieces. And her students, many of them don't have the opportunity to go out and be a part of their own community because their parents work on the weekends or involved in many jobs at the same time. So her school actually developed Saturday School, and it's enrichment. And they go to the zoo, and they go to the park, and they go do all those hands-on science things, stuff that children who have a little bit more advantage get the opportunity to do because their parents have those resources. They set it up for their children in their community. It's pretty amazing. And many of the children's families are from central Mexico, and they are involved in the Journey North project. I don't know if you're familiar with this one. Has anybody heard of it? Okay, it's been around for many years, but basically it follows the migratory pattern of monarch butterflies. It starts in Colorado, and then it moves up northeast and then comes back. You can do a simulated version of it as well at journeynorth.org. Your students draw their own butterflies, okay, and they ship those down to Mexico where they are shuffled with several thousand others of other classrooms are involved in it. And they stay there for the winter with real families in Mexico. And they'll write letters back to the home school. And it's not to their home school, but to any school, because monarch butterflies don't always come back to the same zip code that they left from, okay? They're shuffled around, and you will get a different set of butterflies come to your classroom about the 1st of May. It's a wonderful piece. And yeah.
From a science piece as well, they also grow and watch the caterpillars become monarchs, and then they tag those and send the real ones off as well. So they do a component that is the paper version and also the real migratory patterns of the cuties.
Yes. Okay. Move on.
That's it.
That's it. So, but not to, I guess the point is of hers is just remember that content is just as critical as everything else that we've covered in here. We don't go into that filing cabinet that we've talked about before and pull out the pieces that we've used for years and years and years. We discovered that all 8 of us, none of us do that. And we were talking up here on the way about curriculum mapping. Is this something you've spoken of just a little bit? The idea that you would know what you're going to do in January and February and so forth. I teach in a project-based classroom. That would never work because my students' curiosities fuel where we're going. It's totally different. Do I know where the end needs to be? Yes, but they make the decisions of where we're making things happen. So it's a little bit different. It still comes down to content. Okay?
All right, well, I feel like I've talked to you quite a bit, and now I'm going to talk to you as myself. My name is Sarah Berblinger, and I'm actually a Hayes, native. I grew up in Hayes. I went to Hayes High, and I did my education work here at Fort Hays State University. Yay! Many years ago. My first degree is in journalism, and then I realized that I did not want that life, and I came back to Fort Hays and decided to become a teacher, and it was the best decision I ever made. One of the things I wanted to say to you is that over your career as an educator, you will probably be not surprised if you do a variety of things. So while you may think right now that you're going to be a primary teacher, you just never know what's going to happen over those next years. I started teaching at a high school in the late 80s, and I was a journalism teacher. And very quickly, I was then also doing English classes. And then very quickly, the next place I was doing, freshmen through seniors. And then the next thing I know, I was having to run a dark room, which I'd never done before. And then the next thing you know, they're asking you to teach some social studies because I have that on my certificate that I can, but I don't really know how to do it. And so suddenly I'm a geography teacher. And then the next thing you know, they need me to fill in to be a speech teacher for a while. So it's been an interesting ride over that 20-year period of doing a variety of things. I'm now teaching in a middle school. I teach intensive assistance, reading, writing, and math. Ugh, math. English people don't normally love math. Yeah, we love them. But actually now, most of my day, I'm going to be transitioning again next year to about half-day counseling. And then the other part of my day will be math remediation. Okay, so I've come a long way from that high school English classroom that I thought I was going to be in. So it's a very exciting career, all right? And you will just be amazed at all of the things that you'll be allowed to do over time. Because I hope you're going to continue to be a lifelong learner, right? That's really the point of education. We're trying to build in our students that love of learning. And we as teachers have to keep doing that too, all right? You just never know where you're going to go. So my next slide, if you go. I actually don't have one of the letters in the word embrace, right? My letter is S for Sarah, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to try to wrap up what we've been talking about and see if I can leave you with an impression of some really key ideas that you need to have. One of the things that you may notice is we said we were going to talk about our K-Toy story, all right? And we did mention the Army men, move, 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 but since then, there hasn't been a lot of conversation about Toy Story. So I'm going to see if I can pull that all together for you. I am assuming that all of you have seen the movie Toy Story, right? Movies, Toy Story, right? Andy, I think, has now gone to college, right? That's the latest. Well, we all love Toy Story, and we know that a powerful movie can teach us many things. I want you to think old school for just a moment, and the picture there might give you a little clue of where I'm going. I want you to think old school for just a moment. How many of you have seen a movie in which you learned the biggest word you've ever heard? Okay, sing with me now. It's Wednesday morning, and it's karaoke time. Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, always on precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. All right. Oh, yes, we can do that. Isn't that great? I mean, that's awesome. Thank you. Yay. She's crossed over to the dark side. All right, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, here's the thing. Why All right, now, very serious question now. Why do you think that we were all able to break into lusty singing, and all I said to you was, hey, what movie do you remember the biggest word you ever heard? Why were you able to do that? Because most of you were singing. Why could you do that? I'm giving out presents. What?
It was to music.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you. You made a move to give me an answer, so you earned a Army guy. Good job. All right. It was set to music. Okay, that's a good start. Anybody else have an idea of why we? Yes. Why?
Stupid stuff sticks.
Oh, she has been studying ahead of time. All right. This is like a student who was reading the textbook ahead of time. Good job. All right. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you could do that, but I like to use the letter S in this case. Does kind of have a theme here. I do believe that stupid stuff sticks. All right? Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be teaching stupid things. Heaven forbid we teach stupid things. But what it means is we can teach very important and difficult content, and we can do it in a fun, interesting way. So, we take a word that's, this long, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, all right, which might translate, like in my classroom, to the word onomatopoeia, right, which is a concept I need to teach. It's kind of the same deal, right? Well, we take something that's tricky, we do it in a fun, engaging way, and kids remember it, all right? So years and years and years ago, you saw Mary Poppins, but you can still sing that song because it's set to music, all right? Because it was a fun concept, because, if you'll remember, they actually jumped into a chalk picture, so there was art involved, right? There was dance and movement involved. People were wearing costumes. They were acting. I mean, every element that you need for something that's memorable was right there. Good storytelling, right? So never forget the power of good narrative, music, dance, acting, anything you can find that's engaging and fun to help stupid stuff sticks, all right? Now, I used a technique at one point to work on that word onomatopoeia. And I actually had them doing, Old MacDonald had a farm, and we were kind of doing the farm thing. O-N-O-M-A-T-O-P-O-E-I-A, all right? And we were talking about that, and we played a little game. A year after I did with that with 7th graders, I had a boy come back, and this kid couldn't spell anything. And I said, so there's some interesting onomatopoeia in this poem. And he said, oh, yes, and he spelled it like that. And I looked at him in shock. I said, how did you do that? And he goes, oh, that game we played one time a year ago, all right? Stupid stuff sticks. It really does. So please remember that. Now, what we've been trying to do, the three of us, have tried to take the ideas of 8 good teachers and bring them together for you today. Now, we're not the best teachers in Kansas, but we're decent teachers. You're going to be part of us soon, all right? The idea is, I'm not going to have all the best ideas, but if I'm paying attention, I'm talking to my colleagues, I'm collaborating and using that PLC model of professional learning, I'm going to be a good teacher, right? So what we've done is we've taken these ideas and we've brought them together with some energy. That's the idea of synergize. We've brought these ideas together, hopefully with some energy to help you. Now, good teachers also review, and we want to quickly review these key ideas, all right? So if you didn't take notes, we still hope that you'll remember the key ideas. So our first letter is E for engage. Get them up and moving, all right? Now remember, everything you do is building a block of success. You're hoping that everybody's going to end up, getting from point A to point B, because we all have these ideas of where we hope kids are going to get. Even though you may be planning on doing the babies, all right, we got to remember that we all teach seniors, right? So you're an important building block. So we engage them, get them energized, involved, and moving. M. M is for motivate, okay? Now, Sheriff Woody is going to be your key thing for remembering this. You're going to remember Army men here. You're going to remember Sheriff Woody here. You got to motivate the kids. Now, Sheriff Woody has whose name on his foot? Andy, okay? Because that's going to remind us that it's all about the kids, right? I don't teach for my own benefit. I teach for their benefit. It's all about the Andys and Andreas of the world, right? So remember, I have to think about what motivates them, not necessarily what motivates me, right? So hopefully he'll remind you of that. Thank you. Then B, all right? Our B was, remember, build relationships. In order to motivate kids. I know, isn't it nice? I love it too. All right? So the thing is, in order to motivate kids, you have to know them. All right? I can't know how to motivate them until I know them. So what we hope you'll remember is T-Rex is going to remind you have to build relationships. In the movie Toy Story, he looks kind of ferocious, but does anybody remember what his personality is like? He's not ferocious, he's a scaredy cat, right? So I want to remind you of this. Don't look on the outward appearance ever, okay? Know that you need to really find out the heart of a person. R, reflect. You have to reflect on your own practices and make changes, okay? And hopefully the potato story that she shared with you about mashed potatoes will remind you that sometimes it doesn't work right, all right? So you have to completely, change it up. And Mr. Potato Head is kind of a mess right now. Don't be afraid to come in. If you've had a class session that didn't go well, you can come in and go, boy, that flopped. That's like the burned potatoes, all right? And it's okay to admit to children of all ages, that didn't work. Let's try something else, okay? You don't have to know everything to get it right. A, all right, Miss Diane. Miss Diane said, access your network. Use technology for good. So you'll remember that Buzz came in, and when he showed up on the scene, he was very impressive, the impressive wingspan, and they were all kind of in awe at the new technology. Now, you might end up in a school that has lots and lots of technology, and if you do, that's great. But don't just use it for the sake of technology. It's only a tool for education. And remember, if you end up someplace that doesn't have it, it can still be very magical. Old school is very magical, right? I want you to remember this. You are the most important technology in your classroom. A good teacher makes all the difference. C, okay? Don't be afraid to create. Use your creativity and that of your students, okay? And a Slinky Dog, is going to remind us. Slinky Dog is going to remind you to stretch yourself, okay? Stretch yourself, try something. Don't be afraid of looking silly sometimes. If it's fun and good for the kids, then that's all that matters. And our last letter, E, okay? It really is all about education, all right? Knowing your content, knowing where you're going, educating through experiences and excursions. And if we're lucky, okay, if we're lucky at the end of the day, oh my goodness, I hope we're lucky. At the end of the day, it all stacks up, okay? And you've done your job. So we hope that you've enjoyed. Golly, what is going on over there?
Creativity.
Yeah. Now, you'll notice that in education, sometimes we've got to help each other, I want you not to feel, as you head out next year to do your student teaching, and then the following year, hopefully you'll be taking your first position, don't think of yourself as a lone ranger, okay? We're in this together. Educators have too long gone into classrooms and closed the doors. We don't do that, okay? You've got to collaborate with your peers. You've got to be using your resources, working together, okay? So we hope that you will kind of saddle up and join us on this adventure of a lifetime. We did write a really bad song.
It's not that bad. It's great.
It's a great song. Okay, we collaborated. We took 1 hour early on in January, and we wrote this amazing song that we're going to, be very positive. We wrote this an amazing song that we'd like to sing with you. And since I know you're all singers, if you'd like to join us, we'll move a little to the side so that you can see the words. And feel free to sing along. Okay, so saddle up and join us on this journey of a lifetime. Here we go. You sit and wonder about your future. You try to imagine the world to be. You long for purpose and fulfillment. To share your passions and share your dreams. So write your story and share your talents. Teach our children and change the world. Embracing knowledge to touch the future. Hit the bullseye and saddle up. Ooh, teaching is cool. It's okay to be quite hammy. Just see what you can do. Would it take a chance to invade your senses? Just watch out, don't get the flu. So write your story, share your talents, teach our children and change the world. Embracing knowledge to touch the future, hit the bullseye and saddle up. to infinity and beyond.
But I'm ching. There you go. Well, we have about 10 minutes right now before the class ends, so we'd like to open this up to roundtable discussions. If you have questions, you're getting ready to jump into the big, bad, wide world. Oh, it's not bad. It's awesome. Come to the awesome world with us next.
That is good.
It is good. And we'd love to answer any questions you might have about upcoming environments. How many of you are excited about the fall? Getting excited? Do you know where your placements are yet? Yes? Yes?
Have you visited there? Have you driven by?
We like to stock things, so drive by, get a feel for it. You know, it would be okay. It would actually be okay right now, you know, to go there. You know, take an afternoon and drive there and go there and say, hello, I'm going to be your student teacher. You know, it would make you feel better. It really would, wouldn't it?
And you can establish a relationship.
That's right. Build a relationship now.
I have something I'd like to ask. In a few years, I'd like to see our candidates be a teacher of the year. Can you tell them about the process of what you all had to do in order to receive this award?
The beginning is a little different in each district. In my district, we have a committee who chooses one elementary and one secondary candidate. Is that how you do it?
They had to be nominated by building first, and then it was the same process after that.
Right.
Our district only nominates one year an elementary and 1 year a secondary person, and then we represent the district.
Then we have a ton of paperwork to fill out, essays and essays that occupy a lot of time. You don't do anything else except think about what it is you need to be writing, except for Smoke. She did it in 2 days. But the rest of us took a long time. One? Oh.
See, if you get inspired, it doesn't.
If they give you the information soon enough, you can have time to do it. But some of them, like Ramy, found out, what, 2 days before?
It was due.
And that goes to the state, and then to the region. And then they have, they have committees of business people and education people and community people that go over that. And you have a nice banquet, and there are 4 regions in our state. And we go to a banquet, and they announce, oh, you sit at the table, and you hear the nice speech from the Kansas Teacher of the Year, and she's saying, any of you could be this. Any of you, really, any of you could be it, and you could. And then you go up and have your picture taken and look good, and they announce your name, and then you go back and sit down. And then they call the semifinalists. And you go up, and you have your picture taken, and you get your name said, and you go back and sit down, and you think, whew, and you have prepared a speech for that, but you don't think you'll need it. And I did. It was on a little piece of paper like this, and it was under my plate because I thought, I'm not going to need it. And then they announced you think the semifinalists are it, you know. Oh, I'm a semifinalist. I'm so happy. I'm going to sit down. And then they announce the finalists, and it's you. And you go up there, and they announce your name, and you get to give a speech, and they take your picture, and it's awesome. It really is awesome. And they do that for 1 elementary and 1 secondary in each region. Then you get to interview with the State Department people. They film you interviewing. They film you in your classroom. They film you giving a speech.
They want to check your presentation skills.
It doesn't make you nervous at all. And then they put you up on a big screen, and there's a committee for the state that, 2 or 3 committees that go through it, and blah, blah, blah. And then they pick the winner, and then you get to go to a banquet in Wichita, and they announce the winner. Yep. And it's awesome, and then you are a team with all the other regional, finalists. So there are 8 of us. And it's a trip of a lifetime. We have been all over Kansas. We have visited colleges from little-bitty to great big. We have seen each of our school districts. We've gone for a whole day and toured all the neat things that are going on in each school district. And it's been a remarkable journey.
But how do you get
K-Toy.
Teacher of the Year? You follow all those steps that we covered. You make great things happen with kids. You get to know them. You inspire them. And that's what makes you the Teacher of the Year. What other questions do you have?
How many years have each of you taught?
15?
38.
I'm getting ready to start 20.
And Scott is 10. He's the youngest.
Judy is 36.
The National Teacher of the Year, Jeff Charbonneau, has taught for 6. And he is a rock star, a good friend of mine. So yeah, very, 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 very amazing guy. And the Teacher of the Year from Washington, D.C., because we have 53 state Teachers of the Year, actually. One from every one of the states. One from Washington, D.C., one from the Department of Defense schools, and 2 from American territories. So I guess that's 54. But the gal, she is part of Teach for America, and this is her 3rd year of teaching. Yeah, so just do awesome stuff. You'll be awesome. Okay?
Shine.
Shine, that's right. Hard work and shine. Okay. Anything else? Awesome. Well, good luck to you guys next fall. Oh, we do have by the cookies. There are some of our business cards. If you'd like to contact us again later in our flat stands, you can know who's who.